Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salamun ala abdihi allazina istafa. Amma ba'd, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala ali sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim wa salli alayhi. This is a short presentation introducing the subject of Usul Tafseer at the Suyuti Institute. We'll introduce the subject by first of all defining what Usul Tafseer actually is. Usul Tafseer literally means the principles of commentary. So it's the tools of the trade, as I like to say, which are used in order to ascertain a higher meaning, extrapolating commentary, and in order to dissect the words and meanings of the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we understand in common language as Al-Quran. So Usul Tafseer are in effect the principles of commentary, the tools, the philosophies, the principles, the rules that we engage in order to be able to responsibly extract a meaning from the Quran in order to understand what Allah is trying to teach us through His kalam in the Quran. Why is this necessary? It is not the ability of every individual to stand and to begin to do commentary of the Quran. Unfortunately, in the society and the day and age that we live in today, it has become the normal where every lay person who consults Shaykh Google becomes an alim and a great mufassir overnight. Unfortunately, this is not in line with the ethos and the minhaj of the Sahaba or the Ahl al-Salaf or the Ahl al-Khalaf. So what we need to do in order to be able to understand the Quran more effectively and accurately is to learn the principles involved. These principles involve various different sciences of Islam. For example, Arabic grammar. This is a very important and fundamental subject which is crucial to understanding the Quran. Why? The language of the Quran is Arabic. So therefore, we must understand the rules and regulations which go with Arabic. It's not enough for us to say, these are the words, we understand them and we translate them in this manner. No, there are the sciences of sarf, there are the sciences of nahv, which are employed in order to ascertain correct understandings. There are many examples throughout various translations where various people have made absolute fatal errors, where they have jeopardized their status of their own iman by translating the Quran incorrectly. Remember, if errors are made with regards to the actual text of the Quran and translation of the text of the Quran, then that could potentially lead to kufr. Therefore, it's important to translate and understand the Quran, and then furthermore to derive a commentary. What is a commentary? A commentary is an explanation of the Quran. In order to derive an explanation of the Quran, a great deal of responsibility is required. There's an example which I always quote, which is the example of the student in the madrasa. He was found drunk one morning in his room by his teacher. The teacher obviously at that time couldn't approach him. Later on, once he had sobered up, called him in front of the panel of teachers and governors of the madrasa and said, why are you in this state? You've been drinking, you've been committing haram. It's sin to drink alcohol. The student replied, well, no, I am drinking because it says in the Quran that I can drink. And they said, where does it say you can drink? And he says, well, Allah says in the Quran that I can drink. But in another part, in another verse of the Quran, Allah actually says something very different. And the teacher said, if only you had understood the verse of the Quran. So the child, the student, when he was presented in front of the board of teachers, they asked him, why were you drinking? Why were you indulging in intoxication? And he replied, well, Allah says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu la taqrabu salata wa antum sukara. Don't enter salah in a state of intoxication. So that means as long as it's not time for salah, I can drink. And the time that you'd seen me, I'd prayed Fajr namaz, and there was a long delay before Zuhr. So I thought I'll have a few quick ones and I'll be sober before Zuhr. And then the teachers looked at him sadly and said, unfortunately, if only you'd understood the principle of nasikh and mansukh, you would have known that Allah had abrogated this verse. He had superseded this verse with another verse where he had made the drinking of alcohol completely haram, where it was not allowed to drink under any circumstances, not even in salah or out of salah. This highlights a very key principle to us, that it is not the domain of any layperson to stand and begin understanding the Quran. There are various principles. I've just quoted the principle of nasikh and mansukh, of abrogation. This is another key principle that we use in understanding the Quran, along with many, many other principles. And if these principles aren't understood, as this young student misunderstood the kalam of Allah and actually committed a crime, committed an act which is haram, qat'an haram. Qat'an, again, another word I've used, which is a technical word, means that it is haram as a point of usul. It is undisputedly haram, or however you wish to translate this word as. But all of these types of principles and words that I've used demonstrate that it is not the domain of the layperson to stand and begin understanding the Quran or interpreting the Quran. Hence, the Suyuti Institute presents to you the subject of Usul Tafseer, where we systematically look at the various rules and principles and the knowledges which we need to understand in order to be able to understand the Quran, and then going on from understanding the Quran in order to explain it, to understand the deeper meanings of what Allah and His Rasul are trying to teach us. And to this end, the Suyuti Institute has put together this syllabus which goes from the usul, the principles, runs through this, and then it culminates where we actually present the tafseers of various verses of the Quran and various surahs of the Quran, and we look at understanding those in light of the principles and those usul which are taught in advance. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.